Okay, so the question is, do you have the legal right to defend yourself? Short answer, yes. In Canada, where I'm from, you do have the legal right to defend yourself. You have to do it reasonably and proportional to the threat, but then you're fine. Good? So why is it that approximately 1 out of every 2 people who do defend themselves in Canada are later charged criminally? And why, even if they are found innocent, why are their lives ruined? For that, we have to go to the long answer. So let's do big picture, the law, and then what we can do about it. Big picture. We can rate countries. If you have to defend yourself, you want to be in the United States. Good, clear laws, they're bound tight, so case law can't muddy the waters too much. And corruption is, no country is perfect, but relatively speaking, the rich and powerful still have to abide by the same laws as you and me. Down here, you have countries where the laws are not clear, they are not on your side, and corruption is basically the law doesn't matter. The rich are going to have their way, you're screwed. Canada is about here in the bottom half, toward the top of the bottom half. So, not the worst, but clearly not even close to the land of the free. Now, take all this as my opinion. We need to talk very rough here because there's a lot of overlap and there's no global rating system and stuff like this. It's not really shared that well between countries. So, relatively speaking, in the United States, you can defend yourself and then carry on. In Canada, the law starts very clear, but then you start adding on details, and that's where people misunderstand what the law means, what they can and cannot do, and they think they're acting legally, but they're not, and that's why they pay for it. Good times. So that was the big picture. So let's talk about the law itself. When we talk about the legal code and self-defense in Canada, we are mostly going to C46, the Criminal Code of Canada. And mostly we are referencing Section 34, Defense of Self, Section 35, Defense of Property, and Section 88, which is about possession of a weapon, but more importantly, possession of a weapon for the mother of all qualifiers for dangerous purpose. Disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a father who knew that this was a messy topic that most people misunderstood, and what I wanted to do was set my children up for success, so I just did a lot of digging. If you are a lawyer, by all means, tell me where I go wrong. If you are not a lawyer, don't worry, this is not going to be some kind of academic dissertation. The focus here in this video is to translate the legal code into what it means for you in real time. Okay, so let's go. C46, Section 34, defense of person, meaning you can defend yourself or someone else. There's no difference. You only have to believe that you or someone else is in danger right now. So the force is actively being used against you, or it's about to happen. So it's still a threat. It hasn't happened yet, but there's no time to do anything else. You have to act right now. And in doing so, you can only act defensively. See, you can't go back later for revenge and call that self-defense. That doesn't work. And then the courts are going to consider the totality of the circumstances, including what was the nature of the threat? Could you have run away or avoided it in any other way? Did you do everything you possibly could have done to de-escalate the situation? Or did you somehow aggravate the situation in some way, even a small way? Sometimes even just being there is significant. They're going to take a look at, did the other person have a weapon? Were they bigger or smaller than you, stronger or weaker, age, size, gender? These all matter. Physical abilities matter. Any prior history between you and the person doing the attacking. They are going to consider the proportion of force that you used to stop the attack. And also, surprise, surprise, hey, you're not allowed to attack the police and call that self-defense. Don't do that. In Canada, there is no stand your ground law. That means that if you are able to leave, you got to leave. Okay, Section 35, defense of property. Think about defending your home. You have to believe that you are in peaceful and legal possession of that property, and that the person trying to get in is about to take or damage, is taking or damaging, or has just taken or damaged some of that property without the legal right to do so. And to stop them, you can only uh, use force to stop them from taking the property or to take back the property. And the way you do that has to be reasonable, and you have to consider all the circumstances. And so again, there is no castle doctrine in Canada the way that there is in the United States. Now you put those two together, and what do you do if someone breaks into your home and maybe they want to hurt you and you have the chance to get out? That might be the best choice, leaving your home. But what if there's someone else in the house? Can they get out? If you running away leaves them vulnerable to that danger, maybe, you can't stand your ground on principle, but you can definitely stand between your child and a felon. So you have to consider the total picture. Okay, let's talk about weapons. Section 84 talks about weapons, including firearms. Firearms are not illegal. If you legally own a firearm and you do end up using it in self-defense, that might be okay. But there's a super huge emphasis on the totality of legality, storage, transportation, everything, a lot of details. In reality, if you do use a firearm in defense of yourself, dollars to donuts, you're going to be charged, you're going to jail. And be prepared that it's not going to go the way that you expect. Why? Okay, the law is going to come down hard, and there are so many details as you drill into it that if you get just one of those details wrong, and keep in mind, right, things are happening fast, stress is high. So just getting one of those details wrong, it can ruin your life. Yeah, homemade or adapted weapons, they have their own very long list of things that you can and cannot do, and it's legal or not legal. That is not a good workaround to try to use. Knives, you can use a knife, but pretty much anything, think about it this way, pretty much anything other than a kitchen knife, not a good idea. Now I'm going to come back and explain this in a bit. What about pepper spray, tasers, stun guns? These are illegal. But you're not going to find that in C46. For that, you're going to have to jump over to the SOR-98-462, which is basically 108 pages of listing all the things that you cannot use. It's a lot of things. Well, I can summarize all 108 pages in one sentence. It is illegal to use anything that was designed or marketed to injure, immobilize, or otherwise incapacitate a person. Now, okay, bear spray, that's legal if you're in the woods and there's a chance of running into a bear, but it's totally illegal anywhere else. Pepper spray, illegal. Dog spray, legal, because it was designed and sold as protection against a dog. It's basically watered down pepper spray, which means it's not going to work so well. Will it stop someone? Maybe. It also might make them really mad. Maybe first they wanted to bully you, but now they're going to teach you a lesson. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying you might want a backup plan. You can use a bat. You can use a stick. Call these improvised force multipliers. They're not designed or sold as weapons, but if they're handy, you can use them. Now, as soon as you do use them for self-defense, they become redefined as a weapon. How about a screwdriver? Now, let's use a screwdriver as an example, but the same goes for that legal knife that you're carrying around for self-defense. Let's jump back to C46, Section 88. The question is not, are you allowed to have it? Is it legal? The question becomes, why did you have that thing in that environment? Imagine you're in your own home, someone comes in and attacks you, you're reaching for something, you grab a screwdriver. Okay, makes sense. Now, you're walking down the street, you got a screwdriver in your pocket or that knife, right? Okay, so let's look at the screwdriver. Are you an electrician? Are you going to work? Like any lawyer worth his retainer is going to challenge you on that. What they're going to say is, hey, maybe you came looking for a fight. So now self-defense is off the table. Now you can argue semantics all you want. This is what you're up against. This ain't Texas. Now you think things are starting to get messy? Let's take it one notch more. Let's talk about your emotions. Most of the time, the police are just going to show up and arrest everybody and let the courts sort it out. Assume that you are going to go to jail. It's not fair. It's not just. It's not anything good. It is the reality. Now, no matter how justified you are, the other side is probably going to hire a professional, a lawyer, to twist the story. That's their job, right? To vigorously represent their client, and they know all the tricks. Okay, so suppose you get hauled into court. It's going to be criminal court. You're going to go through that process. Then you get hauled into civil court. So two court systems. Yeah, two. But ultimately, you're found innocent. You defended yourself. It was done justly. You're okay. Okay, but what really happened? How much did that cost you? 100,000 just as a starting point? Do you have that laying around the house? And we're talking lawyer fees, bail costs, expert witnesses, travel costs. Like it's endless. Did that make you go bankrupt? How much debt are you in now? How many years is it going to take to pay that off? See where I'm going? Talking about years. How many years does the court case drag on for? How much of your life did it take over? Did you lose your family over it? No matter who they are or how much they love you, everyone close to you is going to have to deal with your emotional ups and downs. You're venting even when you can't find the words. That negative energy is going to be coming out of you. You have to talk to somebody, right? And your family is the closest. But did that wear them down? And what sort of trauma did you pass on to your children or the other people in your life? Let's talk about your job. Did you lose your job? Lost wages? Did you lose a professional designation? Did someone slap on a no contact order? And did that make it harder just in general, such as maybe taking custody of your children or what your children are dealing with at school? Can you even still travel? And what about the larger social stigma, the ripple effect bouncing back from people who, they're not close enough to know the details, but they've got no problem judging you. Nobody looks at you the same. Nobody treats you the same. And are you ever going to trust the system again? You're going to trust the police again, the court system? Trick question. What is the most proven way to manufacture trauma? You go through something extremely stressful, like protecting yourself, and then you get blamed for it, disbelieved, questioned, second guessed. People change the story on you. In the system, they call that an investigation and cross-examination. On the street, it's called gaslighting, which is not altogether unreasonable. Here's the rub. Check this out. The average person has a recall accuracy of about 60%, roughly speaking. Now, under extreme stress, that number goes way down. But it's a lot more sticky than just that. See, there are some studies out there that say your memory accuracy is 93 to 94%, but that's accuracy of what we remember, but we only remember about 15 to 22% of the totality of the situation. And that's without being highly stressed. So it's really sticky. And then there is perception, your point of view compared to theirs. Now, some people call this imperfect self-defense. Think of two people skydiving. One is terrified, the other loves it. Silly example. Imagine someone sits down beside you on a park bench and a fly comes by and they swat at that fly, but you think they're trying to hit you. So you push them away and they fall onto the ground. And now they want to sue you because in their opinion, they didn't deserve that. Silly example, but you get the idea. It is very common. It happens every day, even when stress is not high. People misunderstand all the time. They misinterpret. So to the lawyers, this is easy picking. So what is your lesson here? Even being innocent, you are going to pay. The process has become the punishment. Now, I'm not saying this is fair. It is not. I'm here to educate and then to give solutions based on how to deal with this very unfair world. So how do you defend yourself without ruining your life? Glad you asked. Let's call this a starter list. How you do each one of the things on this list will be the subject of future videos. So here are 10 things that you can consider to help keep you street smart. 1, get training. Make sure that it's self-defense training that includes strategic planning and emotional resilience. You knew I was going to say that, didn't you? 2, do not carry any form of self-defense weapon that you've bought as a weapon or a gadget. The most that you ever want is something that can be used as a weapon, but is not a weapon, not by any nature. You make you the weapon. The way I like to think about it is this. If I can't carry it through airport security, I don't want it ever. 3, read the room. De-escalate earlier than you need to. Hey, lose that argument. 4, use physical barriers like doors. Close the door, lock the door, get inside a vehicle, stand behind tables. 5, consider the threat must be immediate. Okay, so not past and not speculative. 6, only when you're forced to do you use physical force against the other person to stop them, and that is only when there's no other option. 7, what you do has to be appropriate considering the totality of the situation. So think, there's a jury there listening. They're not necessarily my friends. They don't necessarily share all my values, but they're reasonable people. What would they think? 8, if you are ever attacked, call the police immediately and then preserve any evidence. And also write down what you think you saw, think you felt, heard, or experienced. So don't write down what they did, write down what you experienced. Again, more of that in a future video. 9, realize that you are now in a very unfair fight. Don't expect justice. Don't fight for today you, fight for future you. How are you going to feel in 20 years? Who is that person? Fight for that person. And number 10, don't ever let yourself feel like a victim. Never call yourself a victim. Even if all of the rest of society is calling you a victim, don't buy into that. Refuse. Yes, something happened, but now you are fighting for something totally different. You're fighting for what's up here, and words have power. Never, never, never call yourself a victim. Never think of yourself as a victim. Instead, go on the attack. As hard as anyone pushes, you push back harder. Okay, this section was all about the law. We had the short answer and the long answer, and we ended with a short list of solutions, but we still need to go over the how to make that list a reality. So we're going to do that in future videos with specific tools. Keep on going. You're worth it.